we're the Stop Wearing Our Clothes podcast.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Amy.
One podcast,
two sisters.
This is episode 4, and it's going to be all about relationship with yourself, because it's very important. How important is it, Amy?
Very.
See? You're sold. Before we get into the episode, though, something kind of crazy happened to us today. So this episode comes out the 20th on a Friday, but right now it's the 18th, so Wednesday is actually the day our podcast officially came out. And I think it went pretty okay, right?
Yeah. I just want to actually give a shout out to everybody who shared, commented, reviewed, rated. Like, you guys are everything, and it really means so much to us.
I'm truly overwhelmed by it all, to be honest. And even just you guys just sending us quick texts or just saying how much you enjoy it and stuff like that. It's just, it was a magical day. And it got even more magical. So Bachelor in Paradise, it was the first week. So we did our little Bachelor in Paradise recap. And then I also made some fun TikToks/reels. One of the reels was of Joe, the grocery store man, grocery store Joe. And it blew up. It was pretty gradual for a little bit. And then we ended up hitting 15K. And I was like, we've made it. Me and Amy, we were freaking out, right?
Yeah. I did not expect that many views at all.
Me neither. So as of right now, which we're at Wednesday night, we are at 82,000 views. And we were actually only at 20K until something very exciting happened. Amy, what happened?
Grocery store Joe. He made a story literally shouting us out, even though he said he didn't know who we are, but that's okay. He'll know now.
We will make it very clear. Joe, hey, we're the Stop Wearing My Clothes podcast. Very nice to meet you. We just love you. We're huge fans. Literally, you made our, not day, not week, you made our life. I'm full on fangirling. It's very exciting. And since not only did he share our reel, he said so many people do memes of him and funny reels and stuff like that. He called ours the winner. Winner, chicken dinner.
And gave us a bravo.
Bravo! I was going to try to do the accent he does, but I figured
no one does it as good as him.
Yes.
No one does it as good as him.
For sure. And so I think, Joe, if you think that our meme is the best one you've ever seen, don't you think you should come on our podcast? What do you think, Amy? Do you think that's pretty reasonable of us to ask?
Yeah, I think that sounds perfect.
I think so too. So, Joe, if you are listening, we would absolutely love it. Even if just a little recording, we could have 5 minutes chat with you. We do our Bachelor recaps every week. We would absolutely love to have you on. And just thank you so much for shouting out our reel. We went from 20K to 80K because of you. And probably by the time we post this, I'm guessing it'll hit 100. And it's legit because you shared it. So no matter what, we appreciate you and we think you're awesome. We're rooting for you this season.
And we're always going to be talking about you no matter what. So
yeah. So if you want to go on our podcast, just for a second, it's casual, it's cool. Just if you wanna. So yeah, that was very exciting. It's been a wonderful day. Great launch of our podcast. Thank you, everyone, including Grocery Store Joe.
Yes.
And we'll move on to the rest of our episode. Why are we going to continue to talk about relationships of all different types when really the most important relationship is with yourself? And as Amy was saying to me before, it affects all your other relationships.
Yeah, so we found an article on Psychology Today, and it talked about the different parts of yourself. And so when you know those different areas, then you can really hone in on what you need to work on specifically. And I thought it was a really cool thing to talk about.
Yeah, I've never seen that before. Have you? Have you
seen
the different? Me neither. So it's super cool. So self-care and all that. It's very trendy. Hashtag self-care or self-care Sunday. but it's a lot more than just like putting on a face mask. And this actually delves into all the different types of kind of yourself and how kind of categories within yourself almost that you need to fulfill for your kind of a great relationship for yourself. So we were just kind of going to go through those and also kind of show, I guess also maybe we should talk about just our relationship with ourselves right now. Like, do you feel like you have a pretty good relationship with yourself at this moment?
Yeah, I feel like this year, I guess maybe the past couple years, I've just been going through a lot of self reflection and just kind of like change within myself. I don't know if it's like my age, becoming a mom, or just even what's going on in the world. It's just like really made me like rely on myself a lot more and want to be confident in who I am and make decisions that are like good for my mental health and my well being. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's just every little decision that you make throughout the day is really going to go towards one of these categories. So I think it's actually really important to know what they are and know how you can kind of like feed that part of yourself. So
Yeah.
the first one was your social self. So kind of
Mhm.
knowing what you need socially to, I quoted something, I wrote it down. Feed us or bleed us. So what different types of like social activities like feed your soul and like you get energy from it, and then what ones are just draining, and bleed
So, do
out.
you think that you're an introvert or an extrovert?
I am
Or
an ambivert.
yeah, I didn't
Um,
even know that was a thing. I read that and I was like, I always used to say like, I think I'm in the middle. Well, there's a word for that, folks.
There's a word. We're ambiverts. It's just I think we're it in different ways too. Like if I'm like in a social setting with like a party or something, I actually like being the center of attention. I like
Mhm.
making people laugh. But then I feel like maybe in other like kind of if I'm with like a supervisor at work or something, I'm a little bit more like subdued and kind of, or if I'm intimidated in any situation or in a new situation that I'm not used to, then I get that introverted side.
Yeah, and I feel like being around a lot of people I actually enjoy, but I definitely don't want to be the center of attention. So like I do get just like being in a social environment I enjoy and I think is good for me because I tend to sometimes isolate myself a little too much and then I have like too much alone time and that's not
I
good for
do
me
too.
either. So I kind of have to find like a happy medium. And so I need to be social and be out, but then I also need to make sure that I have my alone time and make time for it for sure.
Actually, just like a new thing, I think just a couple weeks ago, because kind of the situation that me and Marcus are in, because we actually, crazy as it sounds, we work on the same street. So we wake up together, we drive to work together, we drive home together, we're watching TV and getting ready for bed together. And it was just all of a sudden I realized I did not remember the last time I was alone. And I was alone one day and I truly felt like I was almost like on drugs. It was like euphoric. Like I just didn't realize how much I needed it. And it like truly like fed me, not bled me. I'm gonna use that in like everyday term now.
Yeah, I started taking baths every night and reading a book, and I feel like that might be like, oh yeah, cool, you're doing that. But like, I do it to be alone because me and Jared are together a lot, and it makes me get away from my phone. It makes me get away from Jared. The baby's sleeping most of the time, and so it's like a good time for me to just like reflect or not even think about anything and just read, and it's been really good for me.
Yeah, I really love also because yeah, I think of that day I read a book and I was outside and I think I did a little journaling. I was very in my feels that day. But then also I love just like watching TV shows that he won't watch and just the having the
Yes.
freedom of just being like I'm gonna watch Catfish all fucking day and you can suck it. So usually the Real Housewives or Catfish I'm watching all day when Marcus isn't here.
Yeah, and I'm watching Grey's Anatomy because Jared hates that.
There we go. But they both of our men like The Bachelor, so
Yep. So we
two
got
thumbs
winners.
up. So the next self, so that was social self. This is your emotional self. So I think
Mhm.
just being one with your emotions and also just self awareness and emotional intelligence. Um, I know
Literally
at
the
least.
three things that I wrote down. Exactly the
Oh,
words that you
really?
just said.
Yeah, I mean, I just think like one of my thoughts is like how, just normal like intelligence, I don't know what the term is for just, knowing numbers and history dates and stuff like that is taught in
Yeah.
school. But emotional intelligence isn't. When I
Mhm.
actually think that's just as important. Someone I actually work with, his kids go to like a private school, and that's like something that they focus on, which I think is super cool and I want to look into for maybe my future kids. So that's kind
Yeah,
of.
that's actually becoming a lot more of a thing because at my job too, I've learned so much about. I feel like with kids, and I think this probably was even done to us, not on purpose necessarily, but like we when they're upset, instead of just being like, oh, you don't need to be upset, there's no reason for that, or like, no, don't do that. Instead, saying like, oh, I noticed that you are feeling upset, like, because this happened. And when this happens, this is how you feel. And like naming the emotion so that they actually understand what it is they're feeling versus just a terrible feeling that they're feeling inside and not being able to communicate it or know what to do with it. So I think that that's like super important. And I wish that maybe we would have had more of that because maybe I would have learned
I
things
agree. And I was
quicker.
actually just like super embarrassed to cry most of my life. Like I thought that was weak. Like and just in like the last couple years, I cry. Maybe it's just I'm just in an old age. I'm a sappy, but I cry all the time now.
Which is actually hilarious though, because in our childhood, like I was the crier. I could cry about
Mhm.
anything sad, angry, happy, whatever. I would always cry. And then now I'm less of a crier and you're more of a crier. So we've like totally switched places and it's
Yep, I cry.
funny.
I cry like a baby. I cry just staring at my cat, thinking about how much I love them.
You actually do a
That's
lot.
happened
You
to me
cry
a
a lot.
handful of times.
Wait, do you remember that story you were walking across the street crying? I think a drink was involved.
Walking across the street crying. Do you have any other information?
No. Okay, shouldn't have brought it up. I have no
All
idea.
right. If you think of it, you can bring it up later in the thing. I'm intrigued. Um. So yeah, crying's okay. Be one with yourself, emotional self. All right. Next one. What's the next one, Amy?
Intellectual health. And this one I feel like is really good because I think sometimes we get in a rut or we get bored, maybe just with life or whatever. And I think learning new things is super important. And I think it's something that we sometimes don't think of as important because it's like, okay, we went to school, we're done with that, or just living life or whatever. But like finding new interests or reading a new book and learning something different, or even just learning this right now, like learning about yourself and what emotions, what different things you're made up of. Like it's super interesting, and I think making sure that you think about learning new things.
I did like a little quote of what it said and said, "When was the last time you expanded your skill set outside of the workplace?" I think just
Mm.
everyone should kind of ask themselves that of like, okay, are everything you are learning or you do is just for like money for your job or just because I don't know, lots of different reasons. But like this podcast for me, for example, is like me learning a whole new set of skills that has been really fun. And I mean, you probably know, Amy, I'm most likely going to have multiple careers in my life. I
Yeah.
get bored real easy. I'm addicted to newness. And so, I mean, I'm trying to get better at that when things aren't as new. I guess if people are still listening to our podcast in a year and we're still doing new episodes, I did it. Um, oh, and I also I quoted a lot. I was in on this intellectual self. Just staying intellectually stimulated keeps your brain nimble and healthy as you age. So it also keeps you young. That's don't need no
There you go.
Botox. Just
That's always your goal.
try new skills.
We talked with our husbands about like what do you do when you get bored, and I think this is another really important thing for outside of your personal relationship with yourself, but also like when you are learning things, it kind of makes you excited and you want to talk about it. And so then this whole new thing happens with whether it's your friend or your significant other, you can now talk about that, and they're learning new things from you, and if they're learning, then they can teach you stuff, and it's just like this cool, like fun addition to a relationship that maybe was getting boring or whatever it may be.
Next one, physical self. So it's not about necessarily like your size. It's more of you being like comfortable in your body. That it's your body. You have the rest of your life, and you need to take care of it, type thing.
Yeah. And like doing, I don't know exactly, but like doing what your body needs, like even just eating so that I mean, you have to eat or you'll die, or drinking water, like just those types of things too.
Yeah, and like like eating healthy, hopefully, not just like a bunch of French fries and a
Yes.
milkshake. Like
Yes.
um,
But I'm saying that's also a
anybody out
personal
there,
choice.
yeah, anybody out there has dipped a French fry in a vanilla milkshake because it's delicious. Went
I'm
over my
pretty sure
mouth.
that that's not anything new. Do you think you created that?
No, but I just in case there's people out there listening that don't know,
I
I
say go to Wendy's, get a chocolate frosty, and
okay.
get McDonald's French fries.
Oh, we're doing some cross fast food
Yeah.
change. That's
I'm not a big
that's.
Wendy's fry girl.
Oh, really? Hmm.
Yeah. I think they're kind of floppy.
Oh, I like Wendy's. I like Burger King. But no, McDonald's. McDonald's is not even potatoes. We're really getting off track, but just so you
Okay,
guys
but
know.
actually, one more thing. If
Yeah.
anybody out there is sad about the fact that Burger King does not have fry sauce anymore, I am with you. But maybe no places have had it for a while, but my town just stopped making it, and I am
Really?
so sad. Now I don't go to Burger King, which I
No,
probably
when
shouldn't
we
have gone there
moved,
anyway,
even
but
when we moved just to Bellingham, which is like 4 hours north of where Amy's at now, like no other town, and now in LA has had fry sauce at Burger King. And so we would go and I'd visit Amy in Washington and we would stock up and we'd bring them back with us.
because it's the best. Where did it go?
I don't know. Oh,
I'm so
I'm really
sad.
hungry. I'm gonna have dinner after this.
We
Okay.
should stop. Let's move on. Okay. So, well, you can actually start with this one. I think you're more
Um,
comfortable with it.
we're
Hey, hey.
getting we're getting crazy now. So the next one is sexual self. And I mean, yes, it's like a taboo topic, but at the same time, why is it? I mean, it's part of your happiness. It's a natural thing to do. Everyone does it. And I did a quote that I actually really liked. Most aren't even aware of their sexual self, or they choose to ignore it because of socialization around sexuality in our culture has so distorted that relationship. And I think that's so true with like movies, and even like, we might have some opposite views on this of like religion and stuff like that, that how sex is bad. And I wrote down, because when I was reading this, I don't know if I've ever talked to you about this before, but I feel like even like I'm married now and stuff like that. But I actually like our us growing up, we didn't really talk about sex. And if we did, it was very like taboo, like, wait till you're married and all those kind of traditional values. And I
Mhm.
realized in my relationship when I first started having sex that I would feel like shame about it. I'd feel guilty. I would feel bad, and it was like almost, it's not like our parents' fault or anything, but it was just an ingrained thing in me that was just like, oh, only like dirty people have sex, or like anything like that.
And
So that's
weirdly
like
for
something
me,
that I've just recently kind of stopped feeling, to be honest.
yeah, I was going to say the same thing because I think I carried that with me into marriage, which is
Oh,
odd
me
because
too.
like once you're married, then it's supposed to be okay. So
Sure.
I'm, thinking, and this might be really weird, and maybe I feel bad for even sharing this afterwards, but like I think maybe I kind of liked the fact that I wasn't supposed to be doing it, and maybe it lost a little bit of its excitement right at first when I got married too, because I was like, you're doing what you should do
Sure.
before.
No, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, it's just kind of figuring out like, okay, so now you aren't really feeling like you're doing something wrong, but then trying to figure out where like just where the excitement comes from, I guess maybe even just like trying to
Sure.
figure out what sex even means to you now that you are married, because before you were just thinking of it as this thing that you shouldn't be doing. Oh, I think another thing being a mom, I think it's also something that you have to kind of readjust your thinking with too, because it's not some being sexual isn't something that you necessarily want to do as much because you're kind of like touched out, or it's different. And I'm pretty newly a mom, so I haven't fully even figured it all out yet, I guess is the way to
Sure.
say it. And so I feel like just being open to talk about it with your spouse or, I mean, friends or whoever you want to talk to it about it. Like, I think it's important to talk about sex and think about what you like and whatever, so that you can have the feelings that you're supposed to be having while you're having sex versus like shame, guilt, or whatever that might be.
For sure. And I think what's taught me also is like when I have kids, I don't want it to be a taboo topic. I want like sex in our everyday conversations because it's part of everyday life. It doesn't have to be this like gross or like inappropriate thing to talk about. It's just sex. And I think people are more likely to have safe sex that way. And also have just more fulfilling relationships as they become sexually active. That's in my opinion, that's kind of how I want to do it. Have you thought about Jack and how you're kind of wanting? I mean, you've got quite a bit of time, but
Yeah. So I feel like thinking, because I am going to raise Jack in a Christian home, so which that's like a little something that we have a little bit of a difference in. And
mm-hmm.
so I feel like being a Christian, I feel like it's kind of an old way that we were raised, like thinking that it's bad, all this kind of stuff. Because I don't think God actually thinks sex is bad. And I think that Christians have put themselves in a box of sex is bad, don't have it, da 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 da. But I don't actually think that that's how it is at all. And I think that God created sex and it is supposed to be a beautiful thing, not just to make babies, but to
Yeah,
like
it's human
experience with another
connection.
person. Yes, exactly. So I haven't figured out how exactly I'm going to address it because personally, I think that sex is something super special to me still and something that I don't want to just give away to anybody for me. And so I want to try to teach Jack that, but in a way that is not shaming him for having the feelings that he should be having because that's how we were made. We were made to be sexual people. So
Totally.
I don't
And
know
you better,
if that
if you
answers your
have a
question.
daughter, you better do it the same way. Don't treat her different.
Oh no, for sure, for sure.
Sons and daughters getting treated different with that crap, ugh, infuriates me.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so
What's
the
the
next
next one?
one is financial self.
Yeah, I thought like it was actually they had a question in there that I thought was really
Mhm.
interesting to ask ourselves is how we define success and is money part of that? What do you think?
Yeah. Hmm. I would say yes and no because I think that there are a lot of things that I want to do in my life, and a lot of things cost money, so you kind of have to have it. So like, I don't really like the term that like money doesn't buy happiness because I mean it doesn't,
I
but
hate the
not
term.
having it causes a lot of stress
Mm-hmm.
and it allows you to do the things you want to do. So it's
Yeah,
kind of
so just
like,
like self-fulfillment, traveling the
yeah,
world, like all these things that are actually going into all these different selves that we're talking about,
yeah, things that
um,
bring us joy.
parts of money.
Yeah.
Um,
But I don't think that like, oh, I have $1 million, I'm successful, but I'm not doing anything with it and I'm not like fulfilled as a person. I don't think that money defines success. I just think that it's something that definitely affects your entire life.
do you think like money is connected to your self-worth?
I don't
I think
think
for me
so
a
for
little
me.
bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
don't know,
don't
I just
think so
have
for
this
me.
like idea in my head of what my life's gonna be, and I'm gonna have several homes, a couple in Europe, LA, New York, maybe Portland, so I can, show up for your kid every once in a while. But no, not just kidding, but not really. But at the same, like those are the things I want, and you
Yeah.
need money, and so I think being smart about money and also kind of tying that into your goals of just like, okay, have these goals. How am I going to work hard to get to it? And I think that's where it's kind of connected to the self worth of feeling good about working for something.
Yeah. Yeah. I see that for sure.
Yeah. That one's kind of a quick one, but money, you guys know. You guys know the dealio. All right. Cultural self. So we both, I think this kind of ties into like kind of our branding of like two sisters, one podcast, and like we're kind kind of very different in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But culturally,
We
we
were
grew
raised in the
up
same
in the
house.
same
Mhm.
town, same people, and it's very interesting because it's supposed to like affect how you turn out, but we've turned out very differently. So how do you
Mhm.
think like culture has your culture growing up has affected like you and what you do on a daily basis?
So I feel like lately I've become like way more aware of this, and it's like crazy how I will still feel certain ways about things because of something that's happened in like my childhood that I didn't even really like acknowledge. So I was thinking this is kind of like a little dark, but I'll share it anyways.
Go
So I
for it.
remember as like a kid, I feel like I would always feel like um my family would be like better off without me, or that they wouldn't care if I just like disappeared or whatever. And I would always talk about like running away and different things like that. I actually had a plan with my friend that lived next door that if we ever woke up in the middle of the night, we would meet outside with our bags and we would leave. I don't know where we
Yeah.
planned on going.
That's
And one
normal. I feel like everyone has those thoughts.
Yeah, and one day we had our bags and we were literally almost around the block, but one of the older neighbor boys was like, "Stop! I don't think your mom wants you to go that far." And so I was like, "Darn, we didn't make it." But
Mark.
anyways, I feel like that feeling of like not it almost made me like not value myself as I've grown up, thinking like, well, if I just disappeared, no one would care type thing. And so I brought that into different friendships, like being so like clinging on to them because I thought that they didn't care about me, or even in like romantic relationships. And just recently, like I was feeling that way with Jared, like, well, you would, I mean, like, I don't contribute that much to life. Like, you wouldn't care that much or whatever. I didn't actually say that to him, but my brain was thinking that. I'm like, why in the heck would I think that? Like, that's messed up. And I'm like, it's because I felt that way as a child. Like, why? That's weird. That's so weird.
Another question, because I thought some of their questions were really interesting, kind of thought provoking.
Mhm.
Do you think like your culture, like your town you grew up in, gives you like internal tension or gives you a sense of connection and belonging?
I
For
know
me,
your
I
answer,
think
so
it's
why don't
pretty
you answer?
obvious it's
Yeah.
tension. I'm very vocal about not loving the town that I came in. I just feel like from the beginning, I just knew I didn't fit in. And even though I have made like great friends there who I'm still, there's a few that I'm still friends with today. Yeah, I just had it a little tough in high school. And I just think like I had a little bit of a bullying situation, like late high school. I think a lot of my decisions I make now is to like not prove them wrong. What's the right way to say it? I'm just being like, oh, you were mean to me. Look at me now. And it's still like
Mhm.
this weird thing in the back of my head. So I definitely internal tension. No joke about it. It's definitely
Yeah.
definitely that.
Yeah. I don't even think I can answer that question because I don't know that I feel either. I don't feel
And
necessarily
that's yeah,
connected,
the
but I
answer.
don't necessarily feel tension either. Well, I guess I don't really like want to see people I know, so I
Sure.
don't know
The
if that
best thing about living so far away is you don't have to worry about like running into someone that you went to high school with in a Target. It's my favorite thing.
yeah. I just have social anxiety in general though, so it's just like
Sure. Then I'm like, oh,
and
what do I say? But then I need to do small talk, but I don't linger too much because then that's weird. But then I
yeah, because
don't
like, what if they don't
move.
even want to talk to me, and I'm forcing them to sit here and talk to me? But I feel bad if I don't talk to them. It's just, oh, it's a war
Yeah,
in my
that goes
brain.
back into our social selves. We need some work.
Yeah, I also think that we both came from a very loud family who really like
Mhm.
spoke their minds, and I feel like it, or like and like yelling. Like I feel like in arguing would yell. You were more of like you separated yourself a little more, and I was more of a fighter in it all.
Sure.
But I feel like both of us coming into our relationships, like you especially, like did not want that at all. Like you used the way that you were raised to like change the way.
I got the quietest boy in the world.
Yeah, yeah. And me, I had to have like a big learning curve because Jared came from a very like not loud yelling family as much. And so when I would instantly react the way that I used to react as like a child, like yelling at him or like with anger when he was like, I'm not even mad trying to be mad at you. Why are you coming at me like that? And it just makes you realize like the way that you were raised, which we have a wonderful family, like and
Yes, we all
everything.
love
But
each
it's
other.
yes, very much. But it's just interesting because you bring that relationship into all of your relationships.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Agreed. I'm going to have you take this last one because I feel like you might have more to say.
Okay.
And so I don't offend you.
No, we don't
Last
need to be like
one.
that. Okay, so spiritual self is, well, I would like to know, what does that mean to you though? Because I
I
was having a hard
had
time because
trouble.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had trouble with this one because it's not like, yeah, you have a you're Christian, you consider yourself Christian. I don't really consider myself anything, but I don't consider myself like an atheist either. I'm just open. My philosophy and I guess spirituality is I just am kind, and I think if I give that out to the world, it'll come back to me.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be really cool if reincarnation was a thing. If I had to vote, that's what I would vote for. But God could be a thing too. I mean, I'm just open to it, but I don't feel the need to.
To put a
I have a
label on it.
lot of maybe resentments in like religion, and there's also just a lot of things I don't agree with, and it's hard for me to decipher like kind of what you said with sex of like you don't think God was like that or something like that. But like how can you take bits? I don't want to go too deep dive in it, but just I
Yeah.
can't necessarily divide the bits that people pay attention to and the ones they decide to ignore because it doesn't fit into what they think is right. That's my take on it personally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I could be spiritual. I feel in just kindness and just I don't know. I just am kind to people, and I hope that makes a difference in the world.
I use like prayer, yoga, or time in nature. I feel like to be one with my spirit and myself. And so,
Yeah, I've just gotten into plants. Maybe
yeah,
a plant mom spirituality. Maybe.
I don't think that's a thing at all, you weirdo. But I
No,
just
it
feel
was an
like God
example
helps.
in the article. It said gardening.
Okay. So
One
if
with
you
the
want
earth.
to call yourself a gardener,
I'm
sure.
a gardener.
Would
I have
you
cactuses.
speak to your plants to help put spirit in
Yeah.
them?
Yeah.
So I just feel like my relationship with God just helps me stay in line with like my core values and helps me make decisions. And I just think that for me personally, it helps to know that even when everything is going to crap in my life, like there's someone looking out for me, and I can trust someone to make everything turn out right, even if it's not only just the way I want it, but it just what's best for me. And I think for me, that's how I live my life.
No, and I
So
think that's great. When everyone's got to do what's right for them, you know.
yeah.
So let's see here. That is the end of the selves. So should we go do a recap? So these are the different selves, guys. Take care of each one. The social self, the emotional self, the intellectual self, the physical self, the sexual self, the financial self, the cultural self, and the spiritual self. So I think that was actually I don't know, I think it's actually going to help me personally. I think just like kind of almost doing like a little tick boxes of each one, you know, and like making sure that I'm holding myself accountable, not to just a general self-care situation, but like really making sure that each of those categories in my life and I feel like fulfilled and all that good
Well,
stuff.
yeah, and when you are feeling distressed or you're feeling like out of whack, you can kind of go through each one and figure out where that's coming from. And I think that's super helpful because then you actually know what you need to do to feel better
Yeah.
versus like you were saying, the just regular self-care like journaling, meditating, blah 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 blah. It might lead you to that, but it's nice to kind of have something to go off of to figure it out. All right, so we're going to do most likely self-care edition. And our first one is, who is most likely to binge watch something as a form of self care?
Me? I mean, we're both TV
We
people, but
are big
probably
TV
me.
people, but I think you a little bit more. If I was feeling like really down, I don't think that I would instantly choose that as a form of self care. You
This
go.
is what I do when I'm actually like sad. I have to choose between two. Either another sad movie, obviously, or a full on horror movie. Because my life is
Oh,
not bad as them. I'm not getting murdered.
okay, that's actually hilarious.
Those I really truly is self-soothing.
So does that make you a psychopath or something? Because for some reason that's a little disturbing
True
to me.
crime documentaries are all over the place. That's the least weird thing I probably watch. So I'm an overachiever, and I did a most likely self-care edition that connects to all of the different selves that we talked about.
Ooh, look at you.
I know, I know. All right. So the social self, most likely. Most likely to put on a show at a party.
You.
Yeah, I kind of
I'd
already
hide in the corner and cry if anybody asked me that.
Yeah, that one's kind of easy one. Since I have so many, I think I'm gonna do the second one and then we'll go back to you.
Okay,
Okay.
mine are all boring. Sorry.
I'm really proud of mine. The emotional self, most likely edition. Crap, I didn't realize, but a lot of these
Or
I
just you.
added myself. Most likely to cry just staring at their pet. I already admitted that, so you can go. We'll go back to me.
Well, well, this is actually probably every mom in the world does this. When I stare at my child, I do that, and I think of them growing up, and then I'm just like,
No, yeah, I mean, I do that.
horrible.
That's the closest. My cats are the closest things I have to that. So
Yeah, so it's about the
these are
same
my
thing.
babies.
So maybe we both do that.
Yeah, there we go. Both. You're up.
Okay, and this is me outing myself earlier too. Is most likely to take a bath as a form of self care. Me. Do you ever
That's
take
all
baths?
you. No, I don't like cleaning my shower.
Why do you have to clean your shower to take a bath?
I just like I need it to be really clean. So
Oh,
one day, my plan is I'm gonna have like a shower bathroom and then like a bathroom, so it like
that
stays nice.
that is my dream. Not necessarily like a separate bathroom, but like a big, huge tub that's like deep enough to just cover you all and you're all cozy in
Mm.
there.
I like the ones that are like the big walk-in showers, but then also the bathtub in the walk-in shower.
Ooh, I've never seen that.
Oh, I'll send it to you. That's what I
That's
want.
interesting. All right.
All right. So this is the intellectual self, most likely. Most likely to learn a new skill.
Yours wouldn't be necessarily a skill. Yours would be like I'm going to learn a whole new lifestyle, career change,
Yes. Like
move.
the time I decided I was a minimalist and I threw away all of our pens, and Marcus got really mad at me.
Just look at it. No joy.
Yeah, that helped. I once Mary Kondo came out, then I decided I was going to do that, and then I threw away a whole other set of things. And Marcus just comes home and things are gone.
And if you've ever watched Gilmore Girls, the 4 years, or the year in a life, or whatever it's called,
Mm-hmm.
and Emily looks at something and she just goes, "No joy," and throws it down.
I
That's
love it.
exactly what I was
I just
imagining
need
you
to
saying.
watch those more because I obviously watch like the regular seasons, but I need to watch
Mhm.
those more. I just get really sad with the grandpa part because
Yeah.
it's too close to home. We recently
Yeah.
had our grandpa pass, so and for some reason he reminds me of the grandpa
Yeah.
on
And just like
Gilmore Girls.
yeah, you just keep
Okay,
going
mine
through.
are really great. So all
Yeah.
right, so we did intellect. The physical self, most likely to obsess about their body, whether good, bad.
I don't know. I mean, I don't
I
think I'm
think
actually that
I
obsessed with
think
my
in
body.
I think until this year it would have been you, but like I have gained a little bit of weight that's made me a little bit more self-conscious.
Mm-hmm.
So for our first 20 something years it was you, I think, but I think you're just
Yeah,
overall a little
I
bit
would
more
say that too.
self-conscious, right?
Yeah, and I guess I also feel like I keep bringing this up being a mom, but like
No, because
this
your
year
mom's
has
a big
just
part of your
been
life.
yeah, this year's just been so like life changing in so many ways that I feel like I have been really lucky to bounce back. But I look at myself and it's just different to me. And so I think
Because of
just
your lopsided boob.
yeah, if anybody out there, it's the saddest thing.
Like a
Oh, they are
deflated
really good
balloon.
right now. One's straight up and looks perky and perfect, and the other one just is down. I'm like, I'd rather them both be down, I think.
Come on, let's show us.
Oh, yeah, but things like that. So it's kind of like I'm coming into a place of acceptance and more confidence because it's like,
Sure.
this is my body. I freaking made a child. I was very, very confident the whole time I was pregnant. I think I was the most beautiful thing that's ever been created. So I just think
There we
that
go.
from there has just come with like a big confidence that really no matter what I look like, I love it.
Yeah. Well, I've given birth to 3 cats. So I mean, look at me. Don't I look great?
Oh my god. Okay, that's terrifying.
Okay, last one, spiritual self. Most likely to name their kid Lucifer.
I pray to the dear Lord, neither of us. Don't
I
tell me you really want
actually
to name your child that.
it's growing on me. I love the show Lucifer, and
Okay.
it's a regular name, and it would make mom mad. So win-win.
Okay, well, let's get down to this for a minute. I don't even freaking care about like religion aspect of it at all.
You don't like the
Why would
name?
you?
And we could
Well,
call him Lucy for short.
well, you can name your child Lucy, but not Lucifer because I feel like that's just inviting the devil in. And you have to believe in. I know you believe in like spiritual, like devil stuff, right?
It's a name. It's a name people have
Yeah,
had. Lots of normal, regular human beings have the name Lucifer. Like Lucifer was the cat on Aristocat. No, Cinderella.
yeah, and I think the devil was in that cat.
No, have you watched Lucifer?
Parts of it, but no.
Okay, he also has a club. He owns a club called Lux. So get
Oh,
this, Lucifer Lux Galloway.
or you could just name your kid Lux. I would approve of that.
Lux is on my list too, but
Okay.
still.
If I'm the child's godparent, in the will or whatever, you're writing that I'm allowed to change his name because no, I will not
To
have a
do
Lucifer in
this.
my house.
Oh, that's the end of my self-care, most likely,
All right.
edition.
Well, that was fun. I really appreciated yours. So next we're
Relationship
gonna do
advice.
yeah. So we got some from Instagram. How to build better communication skills. I feel like this is something that Jared and I have been working on a lot lately. So I think being very intentional about it, like reading books together or just like kind of like even like looking up online what are good questions to like build better communication, and then you just talk about those questions. I think is a big help just to
No,
like
I
get
think
the ball rolling.
I agree. Yeah, me and Marcus really, I think I talked about in the last episode a little bit. We really struggled with communication. We're like just really getting our bearings on it. But once when we were like really bad and kind of, but also like pinpointed it was the communication, we made sure that like once a week we almost had like a meeting like type thing and make sure anything that you didn't say in the moment or anything you're holding in or resenting, because that's what we would do. We would just get mad and just stop talking to each other. So we would never
Mhm.
actually communicate about it. And so we would just weekly, we would just meet and say everything that we didn't say during the week because that's just who we are. And then from that, we've kind of grown into, we're actually doing like, I've got my communication skills right now is 10 out
Me
of 10.
too.
Marcus,
Yeah,
and also,
I'm
I
like
mean,
really proud of myself and on my relationship right now. Like it's so awesome because
communication's hard.
once you get through that barrier of like not communicating and you realize that that's what's wrong and then you can move forward from that, it is life
It's
changing.
nuts.
Like
And I
it's so
know
amazing. And it
we
just
had
like
like
makes your love grow so much.
I agree. Yeah, we
Mhm.
had a little clip that we posted today as we're recording this, not today as when this will be out, but we had a post a while back where we talk about like friendships being part of love languages, but let's go back to actually love languages in a relationship because that's also a huge game changer.
Yeah.
I words of affirmation and gift giving. Marcus is actions or acts of service.
Yeah.
And those don't mesh well.
Yeah.
And so I just remember like I would just cry and cry and get so angry because he would never give me gifts. But that's not how he shows love. What he would do is he'd do the dishes. He would throw some of my clothes in the laundry. And like that's how he would show love. Thankfully, we're both words of affirmation as secondary. So we say I love you like a million times a day because that's just what I need personally.
Good.
What's yours?
I think I have a really hard time with this one because I actually feel like they're like all mine besides acts of service, and that's the way
You were
Jared
just
gives
love.
it. Yeah, I just love love.
Dude,
But
I'm the opposite of acts of service.
Yeah, no, I hate it. And I'm never going to give it to him. Well, okay, actually, I take this back. I'm really trying to
I
give it to
know.
him because that's what he needs. And I think as a spouse, that is your job to really try to make that person feel loved. So I'm
I'm
trying.
trying to. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
We really hope that you enjoyed this episode, learning about yourself and different things about relationships. And next week, we're really excited because we're going to have the Bachelor in Paradise recap, of course, on Wednesday. And then on Friday, we had one of Kayla's friends, Alana, come on to talk all about dating. And it's a really fun episode. So we're really excited to share that.
Yeah, we're the two married ladies, and so we couldn't do a dating episode without, as would say, all the single ladies, all the single ladies. So we brought one. And yeah, it's a fun episode, and I'm actually really excited for it. But until then, if you could go, kind of ways to support us, because we are working really hard on this, making the most, trying to make something that you really enjoy. So if you could go on Apple Podcasts and leave a rate and review, that would be amazing. Also do like the little follow thing. And then if you are more of a YouTube podcast watcher, if you could subscribe, like, and comment, we have all the full episodes on there, as well as little tiny clips, depending on kind of how you like to consume content. And then we need some questions, right, Amy?
Yeah, or really, so relationship questions, but also if you guys have any like requests or something like a topic you would like us to talk about or anything like that, we are open to all critiques. So we would love emails about that as well at
Stop Wearing My Clothes podcast at gmail.com. And if you also want to send in any like fun bachelor hot takes that we could discuss, that'd be a lot of fun too. Cause we do relationships and bachelor recaps. So that would be perfection. And then we've also got the socials, IG, Facebook, YouTube, Reddit, TikTok, Twitter. We out.
Quora or whatever you always
Or
say.
I haven't actually used it yet, but we have an account. We'll maybe post.